This question is from Joshua, and the question is, should I develop one-man crews? I'm going to read the question, and then I'm going to give you my answer and some specific reasons why. I'm getting to the point where I need to expand. I have about 45 residential lawns and 5 commercial accounts. I am wondering if I should invest in better equipment like 32-inch skags and just run one-man crews. With my current density, I can get about 10 to 12 lawns done a day by myself or 15 with a helper with 21-inch mowers. Please help, better said Hondas. Please help me understand the pros and cons of this. I always see single-man crews with fertilizing, but never in lawn maintenance. I know a guy in my city who does 75 by himself because he has the right equipment and density. It seems like the money I save in labor would well cover the equipment cost. I know accountability and morale would be an X factor, but it seems like one-man crews are more efficient and a better way to go. Your thoughts? My thought is no, you should not do one-man crews. I'm certain of that. I do not think one-man crews are the way to go. I think you should consider two-man crews. So I actually run three-man crews at our company for residential, but I totally see why two-man crews are better. And so here's some things to consider. But my opinion is absolutely do not do one-man crews. You could build out a new crew with one man, but I don't think the angle is to run one-man crews. The reason for that is if you just look at human behavior and how we operate as people and how you might operate, there's a level of accountability that's created with the team. And this is even for us as owners. You know, if you happen to have a business partner, your business partner brings a level of accountability to what you get done, what you do. At least if you have any desire to be a performer and hold up your side of the deal within that business, you're going to work a little bit harder and you're going to do a little bit more because you've got a business partner. If you got one person working by themselves, short of being measured against job costing and GPS data, really, they don't have anybody to hold them accountable. You know, the guy could say, yeah, the reason that I was running late today on Miss Smith's job is she came out and talked to me. Well, I don't know. But they don't use that excuse if you got two people on the job. Also, I think there's some value in simply having somebody to work with. Working in isolation is not that exciting. Now, if you put two guys together that hate each other, that's worse. But if you put two guys together that work well together and sort of thrive off each other and can motivate one guy when the other one's tired, like, let's just get these jobs done. There's only 3 to go and then we're done for the day. Let's just finish it up. Let's push on. When you think about stuff like that, teams are better. I really believe in the team concept in general. I think teams need to be small, but I believe in teams outside of just talking about lawn mowing crews or lawn care crews or landscape crews. I just don't think a one-person crew holds up over time. You may see a spike in the beginning and some benefit in the beginning, but they don't hold up. I also believe that you can get very close to the same level of efficiency with a two-man crew as a one. For example, if one guy can do 10 properties, two guys should be able to do about 20. That's my belief. I think that where you start to see more of the fall off in smaller residential is with that third. The third guy's where I think you start to see more of a basically less efficiency, less production value out of that third guy. And so I think 2 tends to be the magic number, depending on what you're doing. If you run a scenario where you actually mow and trim bushes and pull weeds and do a number of different things all at the same property, then I think you can then get more efficiency out of 3 guys. I also think if trained and managed properly, you can get efficiency out of 3 guys because you can have that third guy do 9 rounds. You can have the third guy do extra things. If you have super tight density, the third guy can move on to the next lawn. He can just roll his mower or take his weed eater or whatever down to the next property versus sitting in the truck. So you have to, your business will evolve. What might work today won't work in 5 years or might not still be the best and most efficient approach. So think about these things. 1, I believe 2 is the most efficient, so specifically for a smaller company. 3 will eventually possibly be just as efficient, probably not just as efficient, but will be pretty close. But your business has to look and has to be set up properly for that to work. So I'd encourage you to go with 2 men versus 1 right now. it doesn't matter if you have one guy or have four guys on the property. At the end of the day, equipment matters. You could have one guy and give him the wrong equipment. He's not going to be productive. If you have four guys and give them the wrong equipment, they're still not productive. Obviously, it just magnifies the problem. So equipment doesn't, in my mind, play a factor here. Whether you have one guy or 50 guys, you still have to give them the most efficient, right equipment. So equipment is a non-factor in this conversation in my mind. Also, a lot of times you might look around, and if you look at most marketplaces, there's a tremendous number of guys out there that are the owners out there doing the work. And so you could look at an owner and say, this owner guy in my city gets 75 jobs done a day. Yeah, that's possibly correct. However, the owner has a different motivation than a guy that's getting paid by the hour, maybe even by the job. And the owner has to do this if he wants to feed his 5-month-old baby and his wife and keep the rent. Whereas, and he probably, in most cases, just can't walk away from this thing tomorrow and get another job down the street. Yeah, maybe he could, but that wouldn't be in the best interest of him and his family. Whereas a guy that you're paying X number of dollars an hour, maybe gets paid by the yard or whatever, he's got all these options in many cases. He doesn't have the pressure that the guy that owns the business has. So for example, if he slacks off, and a lot of guys wouldn't, but if he slacks off, tomorrow he could probably go get another job in this industry. There's a great need for people. So he doesn't have this real pressure that, man, if I don't work really hard today and I get fired, I'm not going to have a job. My family's got debt. We're not going to be able to pay it. Everything's going to fall apart. And I'm not saying that I'm not saying that a guy doesn't need his job or doesn't have debt. I'm simply saying that the business owner is so invested in this thing, he can't just simply say, in most cases, I'm done tomorrow, whereas an employee doesn't have quite the same pressures. They have different pressures. But in our industry specifically, most often an employee can just go get another job. So I don't think this is and that may be a poor example. The point I'm trying to make is I don't think you can say that if another competitor who is the owner is out there doing the work and he can do 75 jobs, that some guy that I hire will also do 75 jobs. Yeah, he might, but will he still be doing 75 jobs in 3 years when he starts to get tired and a little burned out and he starts to look around at some of his friends that have other jobs where they're doing less work per day and making the same amount of money? Will that hold up over time is my question. I don't think you want to build your business assuming that an employee can accomplish as much as an owner where all the weight's on that guy's shoulders. The other thing that I think you need to think about is as the business scales, asset utilization becomes a challenge. So if you're going to run one-man crews, so you have to agree with me first and foremost that you could actually make a two-man crew almost as efficient as a one-man crew. If you can buy into that, then asset utilization is an absolute consideration. And that basically says that for every additional crew that I start, I have to buy another truck, I have to buy trailers, I have to buy insurance, I have more opportunity, better said, I have more risk. So meaning that for every additional truck I put on the road, there's a higher probability that somebody's going to have an accident, something bad is going to happen that's going to harm my business. There's that risk. It's an invisible risk, but it's a real risk. And so you start to think about things like that. You say, okay, how can I reduce the number of trucks on the road? How can I reduce the number of trucks I have to buy? How can I reduce the number of pieces of equipment I have to buy? On and on and on. And then you start to realize that, a 2-man, 3-man crew starts to make a little bit of sense. In my company, if I had to go to, I think we're at 40 trucks or something like that. I don't know the exact number, but let's say I had to go to all one-man crews. Does that mean I need 120 trucks and 120 pieces of equipment? Imagining that only one piece of equipment's on each truck, well, that'd be insanity. I'm not going to do that. I need some asset utilization because there's a lot of hidden cost that comes with each additional truck, each set of equipment that I put on the road. And so I need to utilize my assets as efficiently as possible. Also, I believe one of the absolute biggest hindrances to guys in this industry growing their business is money. It's cash flow. And so if you are ready to add another crew, but you don't have the money to buy a truck and you don't have the money to buy the equipment, you don't have the money to do all the other things that come with that, then it's going to slow down the growth of your business. And so asset utilization absolutely becomes a consideration as the business starts to scale. You're not there yet, but you'll feel it as soon as you get there, and you will. Also, and I'm going to leave you with this one, if you build your business around one-man crews, then you have this real risk when one of your guys quits. You have a little less risk when you have 2 or 3 guys on a crew, because if one guy doesn't show today, the other 2 can carry the slack. Maybe they finish at 6 o'clock normally, now they finish at 9 o'clock tonight, but at least the work got done. Or maybe they finish at 9 o'clock tonight and they can't get all the work done, but you take a couple properties from that crew and you give them to spread them out among other crews. The work can still get done. From the standpoint of Service Autopilot, the software company that I have, one of the things that I notice is that we have a set of customers that seem to have a level of peace in their life and in their business. And then we have a set of customers that the world is burning down around them every single day. And everything is a disaster. There is no patience. The world is going to end at any given moment. That's the basic take I have on how a group of our clients live their life, and I understand it. I totally get it. And the difference is, in most cases, how they manage their business and how they set up their businesses and how they design their business, and a lot of it's mindset too. But for example, if you have built your business and constructed in such a way where there's a lot of different ways that things can fall apart on you, then it creates constant chaos in your business, which creates constant chaos in your life. And whereas if you organize your business in such a way that you look at all the potential bottlenecks, you look at all the potential failure points, and you say, how do I mitigate this risk? How do I eliminate this risk? That brings a level of calmness to your company, and it brings a level of calmness to your life. Now, the reason I just said that to you is, imagine that you create your business around a lot of one-man crews. Things happen all the time, and when guys don't show up, it screws with everything. Now you're really screwing with your business. And so if you don't have a guy show up, if a guy didn't show on Friday, you're scrambling. Everything is a mess. You're rejuggling your yards, you're moving yards around, you're rerouting everything, you're calling customers, or you're not calling customers, which is even worse because you just don't show up, and that doesn't build great customer service. Everything's a mess. You're screwing with your other employees because you're saying, hey, can you please take these jobs? And you're having everybody scramble to help you get out of this bind, which then makes your employees' lives miserable as well, because everything they do for you becomes a burden, because it's constantly them helping you put out one more fire in your business because you're not on top of your game. Contrast that to a guy that has multiple crews with multiple people, with backup people in place, and a guy doesn't show today. He's like, oh, that sucks. Guy didn't show. That's fine. Jim, get on that crew because I have a backup plan. I already know what we're going to do. I don't have to reroute my day. I don't have to scramble jobs. I don't have to move everything around. I don't have to ask Bob or Jose or whoever on another crew to please take 5 of the yards, and then I don't have to ask somebody on another crew to take another 4 yards, which messes with their lives because now they're going to get home late and you've screwed up their plans for the evening or their time with their kids. How does that create a company that they want to work for? Just think about the spiraling effect of anything being chaotic. Then you take that stuff home to your family and it just doesn't work. And so a long finish to this video to say that that's maybe one of the best arguments for not having a one-man crew. What I see, our most successful clients have their stuff together. They have solved and thought ahead about the potential problems. They've created backup plans, and when things go bad, and they go bad every single day, they can make quick changes. And the world doesn't fall apart, their life doesn't become chaotic, they don't become stressed out. And I think if you went with a one-man crew, you'd create that. I think you'd constantly be in this state of scramble. And for that reason alone, don't go with a one-man crew. Go with 2, and eventually reconsider everything and look at 3. And the way you reconsider everything is you run a test. You measure it, you track times, you say, how do we perform? How much money do we make per day, per man? When I'm doing a 2-man crew, let's throw a 3-man crew, got a 3rd man on there. How do we do? And if it doesn't go well, you don't just say, oh, well, that doesn't work, we'll never do that again. No, you get out there and you look at the 3-man crew and you say, okay, what's not efficient about this? How is the crew under? You don't just assume that they're magically going to do everything right. You get out there and say, wait a second, why are you guys all mowing the front yard at the same time? That makes no sense. and this guy needs to go back here, and you kind of direct them and give them some guidance and help them think about efficiency, and you teach them, and then you reanalyze and say, okay, is this efficient? Oh, it's still not efficient, it's better. Okay, what's the next problem? Oh, well, I don't really have enough density for 3 men. So what if you then sold a couple more yards? Does that solve the problem? So you go through this set of questions to yourself, trying to figure out why you can't make 3 men as efficient as 2, and you see if you can solve it. If eventually you've asked yourself a series of 15 questions and everything you've tried didn't play out to fix the problem of efficiency where you couldn't make 3 guys as efficient as 2, then right now where we're at in business, I can't make 3 guys work. 2's the optimal number. Everything's a test. Everything's a trial. And as your business evolves, you have to retest everything. That's a lot of work. It's hard, but that's how you create a highly profitable business. So 2 men, don't go with 1. Eventually test 3, see if it works for your company, and periodically reevaluate as your company completely changes as you grow it over time. Good luck.